Our objective for today is I can solve a subtraction problem with regrouping by comparing the base 10 block strategy and the branching strategy with the algorithm. So today you are going to learn how to do the algorithm for subtraction with regrouping. Let's start with this example of 74 minus 15. So first I'm going to use a strategy that you're familiar with, which is the base 10 blocks. And then I'm going to show you how that compares to the algorithm. So for base 10 blocks, our first step is to build our minuend. And our minuend is 74. So I'm going to build 7 tens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 4 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. My next step is to take away my subtrahend. My subtrahend in this problem is 15. So I need to start by taking away 5 ones. Do I have enough ones to take away 5? I don't. So remember, when we don't have enough, we have to go next door. So I'm going to borrow one of these tens, and one of these tens becomes 10 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I'm no longer going to have this 10 in the tens because it became these 10 ones. Now I have enough to take away my 5 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's count to see how many ones I have left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 ones left. Now let's go to the tens. How many tens do I need to take away? I need to take away 1 10. Now how many tens do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 tens, which has the value of 50. So my difference, the answer I got using base 10 blocks, is 59. Now let's try it with the algorithm. So just like when we were doing subtraction without regrouping and addition, we set our problem up vertically. And I like to set mine up on notebook paper turned sideways because it helps me stay organized, and I can make sure my ones are with my ones, my tens are with my tens, and my hundreds are with my hundreds. So just like all the other strategies, we are going to start in our ones place. Just like over here, we started in our ones, and on the algorithm, we're going to start in our ones. So we start by subtracting 4 minus 5. We can use our same chant that we used for branching when we are doing the algorithm. Remember, it's more on the top, no need to stop. More on the floor, go next door. So when I'm looking at this 4 and the 5, I have more on the floor, so we're going to need to go next door. Just like we did in our base 10 blocks, we didn't have enough to subtract, so we had to borrow one of our tens. Same thing with algorithm. So instead of having 7 tens, I'm going to borrow one of those, so I'm only going to have 6 tens left. And I'm going to bring my 10 over and squeeze it right next door, right in my ones place. So now I have 14 minus 5, which if you look at our base 10 blocks, I had that same thing. I ended up with 14 ones after I regrouped, and then I took away 5. So we know that 14 minus 5 equals 9. So now we're done with our ones place, and we can move on to our tens place. So now, remember, I don't have the 7 anymore because I borrowed one of those tens. So now I have 6 minus 1. Same way I had over here. I had 6 tens and I took away 1. 6 minus 1 equals 5. So if I compare my answers with both of the strategies that I used, I have 59 for my answer for both. Now let's move on to one more practice problem. This time, we're going to solve 236 minus 72. And this time, we're going to use the branching strategy, and then we're going to compare that with the algorithm. So let's start with 236. Remember, for branching, we're going to write that in expanded form to build it. So I have 236. Our next step is to take away our subtrahend. Our subtrahend is 72. So let's start by subtracting our ones. I have 2 ones to take away, so 6 minus 2. Let's think about our chant more on the top. No need to stop. So that means I can just go ahead and subtract. If I have 6 of something, I can give 2 of them away. So 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. Now let's move on to our tens. So now I had 30 tens and I need to take away 7 tens. Can I do 30 minus 70? I can't. More on the floor. Go next door. So let's go borrow from our hundreds. We're going to take away one of these hundreds. So instead of having 2 hundreds, we're only going to have 100. And then I'm going to sneak that 100 in right in my tens. So now I have 130 minus 70. What I like to do for this is I like to count up by tens from 70 to 130 to see what my answer is. So if we start at 70 and grab that, we'll start at 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. So I counted up 6 tens, which means the difference is 60. Now let's move into my hundreds. Do I have any hundreds to take away? I don't, so we're just going to subtract 0. 100 minus 0 equals 100. Now let's compare that strategy with the algorithm. Same way we started last time, we're going to line up our problem vertically. Notice how I don't have any hundreds in my subtrahend. So I have to make sure that's either blank, or if I wanted to, I could write in a 0 to help keep it more organized so that I don't forget there's nothing there. Now our first step of the algorithm, just like in branching, is to subtract our ones. Again, we have 6 minus 2, which we already know we can do, and we know that 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. Now let's move on to our tens. Now I have 3 minus 7. If I have 3, can I give away 7? I can't. So same thing that we did over here in our branching, we're going to have to go next door. More on the floor, go next door. And remember, when we go next door, we always borrow from our minuend. We always borrow from our top number. So instead of having 2 hundreds, we're going to only have 100, just like we did over here. And we're going to take that extra 100 and move it into our tens. We did it with branching, and we're going to do the same thing with the algorithm. So I like to squeeze it right next to the 3 in the tens place. So then I have 13 minus 7, which we know is really 13 tens minus 7 tens. And we know that 13 minus 7 is equal to 6. Now let's move on to the hundreds. Now I have 100 minus 0 hundreds. 1 minus 0 is just 1. So let's compare our answers. Over here at the algorithm, I got a difference of 164. Over here with branching, I got the expanded form of 164, which means I got the same answer for both problems.
Now I want you to practice some problems with me. So go ahead and grab a piece of paper. If it's notebook paper, turn it sideways. And let's try together 322 minus 18 using the algorithm. So first, let's set up our problem. Let's set up 322 minus 18. Now when I'm adding into 18, does my 1 go in the hundreds, the tens, or the ones? The 1 for 18 goes in the tens, and the 8 goes in the ones. So if you want, you can put a 0 in there so that you don't get confused. And that way your minus sign isn't in the way or anything like that. Now our first step is to look in our ones. So we are going to subtract 2 minus 8. But remember our saying, more on the floor, go next door. I cannot subtract 2 minus 8, so I'm going to go into my tens place and I'm going to borrow one of my tens. So instead of having 2 tens, I'm only going to have 1 10. And I'm going to borrow that 10 and put it in my ones. Now that you've done that step, now we can subtract our ones. We're going to do 12 minus 8. What is 12 minus 8? 4. Now let's move into our tens. In our tens place, we have 1 minus 1. We could do 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is just 0. So we're going to put a 0 in the tens place. And finally, let's move on to our hundreds. I have 3 minus 0. 3 minus 0 equals 3. So 322 minus 18 equals 304. Let's try this next one. 631 minus 252. Go ahead and set up this problem. I'm going to set up mine. I'm going to say 631 minus 252. Let's start in our ones. We have 1 minus 2. Can we do 1 minus 2? Nope, so let's go next door. You're going to cross out your 3 in the tens, and so instead of having 3 tens, you're only going to have 2 tens. And then we're going to add that 10 in with our ones. Now we have 11 minus 2. That we can do. 11 minus 2 is? 11 minus 2 equals 9. Now let's move to our tens. Now I have 2 minus 5. But wait, can I do 2 minus 5? More on the floor. Go next door. So now I have to regroup again. I'm going to go to my hundreds and I'm going to borrow one of my hundreds. So instead of having 500s, or excuse me, instead of having 600s, I'm only going to have 500s. Now I need to bring that 100 next door, and that 100 is going to go in with the 2, not the 3 because I already regrouped, but it's going to go right next to that 2 because now I'm going to have 12 tens. So now we can do 12 tens minus 5 tens, and that equals 7 tens. And finally, let's subtract our hundreds. I have 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 equals 3. So our difference is 379. This is our last one to do. If you want to try it on your own, go ahead and pause the video and then come back to check your answer. So let's set up our problem of 706 minus 471. So let's start in our ones. We have 6 minus 1. More on the top. No need to stop. 6 minus 1 equals 5. Next, let's look at our tens. I have 0 tens minus 7 tens. If I have 0 of something, can I give away 7? No. More on the floor. Let's go next door. So let's borrow one of my hundreds. So instead of having 7 hundreds, I'm going to have 6 hundreds. And let's move this 100 into my tens. So now I have 10 minus 7. 10 minus 7 equals 3. That's one of our friends of 10. Finally, let's subtract our hundreds. I have 6 minus 4, which equals 2. So our answer is 235.
Your independent practice today is this worksheet with some subtraction problems. These are all only 2-digit numbers, and they all do have regrouping. So this is going to be great practice for you. You're going to practice the algorithm like we did today over and over again in order to really get good at it. I know the third grade teachers love when you come in and you know how to subtract with regrouping with ease. So this will be great practice for you. When you finish, please submit it.